Welcome back to Basic Bananas Radio, where we share tried and tested ways to grow your brand and get more customers. Everything from the latest in marketing and branding, right through to growing your team and creating an irresistible culture.
Hi, and welcome to Basic Bananas Radio. Today, I am chatting with Ethan King about all things ChatGPT and how you can customize ChatGPT to talk and think like you. It's such a practical discussion that you will no doubt love. Let's jump straight in. Hi, and welcome to this episode with Ethan King, the one and only. Hi, Ethan.
Hey, how are you?
Yeah, really well. It's so great to connect again. We did cross paths without really knowing in Cape Town, where we both were hosting a workshop, but we were both so busy that we didn't even meet in person.
Yeah, well, it was a huge conference, and what were there, like 3,000 people or two or 3,000 EOers? But yeah, how great to connect with you here across the globe.
Same. So Ethan is a member of EO in Atlanta, and as I mentioned, we crossed paths because we were both hosting a workshop at the Global Leadership Conference, and then we got connected again because Ethan is really smart in general, but in particularly also when it comes to using ChatGPT. And you've just published a book called ChatGPT to Double Your Business in 90 Days. And it's taking off. You're running workshops all around the world on how to use AI in your businesses, in our businesses. And the one thing I love about your approach is that because everyone these days is an AI expert, you run a really successful business in custom apparel that you've been running for 22 years. And you've been using AI and automation since 2011, I believe.
2011.
Yeah. So you're not just a newborn AI baby that now goes and talks about things that you've never used. You actually have been using a lot of these tools that have been around for a long time. And so it's really cool to talk to you about this right now.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't call myself an AI expert. I think it's a little bit cringe when people say that, especially when they just started using ChatGPT that just came out less than 2 years ago. But I will tell you, I am not a programmer. I was an art major in college, but if I can figure this out, you can figure it out. And automation has changed my life. AI has changed my life. And it's more about the philosophy and the underpinning, the strategies of using it, because the tools change all the time. But that's what I teach. And I think that's why my workshops and my book do so well, is because I'm telling it to you straight up like a normal person. I'm not like an engineer where I'm telling you other stuff and it's going over your head.
Exactly. And also you come from the mind of a business owner, of an entrepreneur. So you use all these tools in a quote normal business. So
Right.
really cool. And the one thing, as we discussed before, we love to have this show to be super practical so that people who tune in for every episode, they're short and sharp and very practical. And one thing that we said we can discuss here is how to customize ChatGPT, because most people hopefully by now are using ChatGPT to sound and think like you. Because there's a lot of noise out there. Most people don't know how to do that or don't do it. And they just blend in. So where would you like to start?
So ChatGPT came out November of 2022. So ChatGPT is less than 2 years old. So if you think about it in those terms, it is a toddler. And I know we were just talking about kids. I think you have some little kids at home. So toddlers aren't perfect. You do have to repeat yourselves to them sometimes. You have to make your instructions explicitly clear, as we know. But most people I've found use ChatGPT straight out of the box. And that's the problem is it will actually work. It will do what you want it to do. And it will fill in the gaps. If you don't give it information, it'll just make up things. So you need to give it more context, because we've all probably been on LinkedIn and read a post and you're like, you can tell right off the bat, you're like, oh, ChatGPT wrote that for that person, right? And it's a turnoff. Yeah. But my ChatGPT, I have trained to think and to speak like me. And now when it generates content, and this is authentic content using my experiences, my stories, my personal anecdotes, I can take the output. Let's say I have it write an article for me. I can take that output, put it into an AI checker, and I've had it come back as much as 100% human generated content, even though it came straight from ChatGPT, like without me touching it. That's because I have it so fine tuned. So if someone's just getting started out, here's what I suggest you do. Open up a prompt, and you need to have, I suggest having the paid version if you don't already. I mean, it's totally worth the $20 investment.
Yeah, I agree.
But start out by telling ChatGPT about yourself and about your writing style. So you're going to say, here, I'm going to give you like the exact prompt. You could say, I'm going to feed you some excerpts from my writing and speaking. I want you to analyze my writing and speaking style. Then I want you to craft a prompt for my custom instructions that will help you speak in my voice. Do you understand? So you're saying this to ChatGPT. And it's going to respond, yes, go ahead and give me examples of your writing and speaking. And then go out and get as much as you can, like if social media posts that you've written, transcripts of speeches that you've done, any articles that you've written. Just make sure it's stuff that you actually wrote in your voice that wasn't AI assisted, but actually came from you. The more information you give it, the better, because then it's going to analyze that and it's going to give you back some instructions. And then so you're going to say, after you feed it the examples, say, write the custom instructions for ChatGPT to emulate my speaking style. So you're asking ChatGPT to write instructions for itself to speak like you. And then if you click on your profile and then click where it says customize ChatGPT, you can then put that in that bottom box where it says, how would you like ChatGPT to respond? And that's going to globally impact all of your future chats from that point forward to think so that it sounds like you. And you can go even deeper with this. Like I suggest that people continue that conversation with ChatGPT and then ask, okay, what notable figures do I sound like to you? And then ChatGPT will give you a few names. It'll analyze your speaking style and say, like, for example, for me, it said, your speaking style reminds me of Gary Vee and Tony Robbins and Simon Sinek. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's pretty cool. I respect those guys. I have I'll take that. And so, but the reason that's important is because then I can put that in my custom instructions as well. In addition to the description, I can say, hey, use a blend of these three people because ChatGPT knows more about them because they have so much information out there. Like Gary Vee has been on the internet since whenever the internet began, Tony Robbins, Simon Sinek. So it has more information that it can look at and make an assessment of my speaking style in combination with the examples I gave it. Does that make sense?
So powerful, so powerful. And what I did to feed ChatGPT my information, my writing style, is I actually just went through my most popular blog articles and one of my most popular books, and I uploaded in that information so that it could analyze my most popular content. I have not done the notable figures step, so I'm going to implement that one too. I love that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and then you can get creative with it. You can create, because a lot of people ask me in my workshops, well, what if I want my ChatGPT to speak in different personas? Like if you run a marketing agency or something, well, I suggest keeping a Google Doc with different sets of writing styles and custom instructions. So if you need to, you can swap those out, or you can use a different document for custom GPTs or things like that. But at a minimum, have your ChatGPT speak like you. So that needs to be in your custom instructions so that you're not just using the default version of ChatGPT. And then the next thing you want to do is in that top box in your custom instructions, you need to tell ChatGPT about yourself. So I like to fill it out by saying, my name is Ethan King. I'm the CEO of Zeus's Closet, and I do this, and our company does this. And these are our 3 unique value propositions. And our mission is this, and our core values are this. And I tell it about my kids and my family. The more background information I give it about myself, I tell it about the books I've written. I tell it about my TEDx talk, all of this stuff. Like the more you have 1,500 characters to put into that box, I recommend that people fill it up as much as possible with information about yourself, because the more it understands you, it's going to use that as context for all of your chats going forward. And it's going to use your writing style also to craft those responses in your voice.
This will really change the game for our listeners because, again, as you say, a lot of people are publishing content that just sounds like you can straight away know that it came from ChatGPT, especially when they use words like thrilled and, very ChatGPT kind of words. I'm so thrilled. And to be honest, I've made that mistake too. But should we go now into, okay, now that you've given ChatGPT all this information, you're training this machine how to think like you and talk like you. Should we talk about how to create content for different channels? Or where would you like to go from here?
Yeah, let's do it. And by the way, with those custom instructions and it's your writing and speaking style, that's always evolving. You can always go back and make changes and tweak it. And like you said, if there's certain words that are kind of giveaway words for AI right now, like unlocking and diving and delving, if you don't really talk like that, then you can actually put in your custom instructions like never use these words. Like if it's something you never say, you can go ahead and kind of put that in your custom instructions as well. And you can also ask it, like, if you know that there are certain things that you say a lot, like certain catchphrases that you have, you might want to ask it to include those words as well. So the more detailed you get, the better when it comes to crafting your voice. So then after we have your voice crafted, okay, let's create some content. In my workshops, I go through how to produce everything, long written content, which is your blogs, your articles, your email newsletters, to your video scripts to make it easy to just open up a camera, because a lot of people are hesitant about being on video, but you can use ChatGPT to take a lot of the load off, a lot of the pressure off. And then into your short form content, your short form videos, your images, and your short form written content, like your tweets and your Instagram threads. Let's start with that long form content. Where are you going to get the like, a lot of people are like, well, what do I even talk about? Or we get trapped with industry knowledge and we put content out there that we know about, but maybe it's not really what our readers are interested in. So what I like to do, there's a few ways to do this. But one of the easiest ways is use ChatGPT, and you're going to ask it to come up with content for you. So this is what I call the content matrix. So you're going to tell ChatGPT, let me read the exact prompt for you. You're going to tell it about your industry, and then you're going to say, do some research for me. This is the prompt. Do some research for me. Act as an expert social media marketer. Tell me 10 frustrations, 10 desires, and 10 fears that your audience, so this is where you fill in the blank, so whoever your target audience is, that these people experience when it comes to, and then the next blank is you put your product or service. So for example, for me, I would say, tell me 10 frustrations, 10 desires, 10 fears that small business owners face when it comes to ordering customized apparel for their business. So I might do that from one of my companies, right? And then I tell the rest of the prompt is put it in a table format, label x-axis 1 through 10 and y-axis frustrations, desires, and fears. And it's going to give you a chart, and it's going to have, it's researching, it's knowledge base, the internet. It's going to tell you actual frustrations, desires, and fears that your target market faces so that you can address those questions to create your content. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And then I would even say, once you have a table, you may add some more of your own, because obviously we know our audience is inside out, and we have daily conversations with people generally. So you can just keep adding to that table of the desires.
That's right. Yeah. You can put questions in there. You can have, ChatGPT interview. But once you choose something from that, for purposes of this exercise, like choose one topic from that matrix that you've now had ChatGPT create for you. And then what you can do is tell ChatGPT to write an article on that topic for a certain publication. Let's say you're writing for Inc.com. It obviously knows what Inc.com is. It has reference points. It can always refer to the style of publication, to the style of articles that Inc. produces. So you could say, write an article for me that might appear somewhere like Inc.com on that topic. You choose a topic from that matrix. Okay. And then, but here's the thing, give it actual things that you have done, so that otherwise it'll just make up false information. It'll just make up stories. So in my example, where I said frustrations, desires, and fears that my customers face for embroidered apparel, well, I know that one fear that came up in the matrix is they're concerned about having to order huge minimum quantities. So for example, maybe I'm a small business with a team of 5 people. I don't need to order 48 shirts. So how does my company address that? So I can answer that because I've been doing this for 22 years. I can say, well, we don't have any minimums when it comes to embroidery. We can do as fast as same day service. And in fact, I remember Bob came into my shop last week. He was going to a trade show and he had to fly out in the morning, and we got it done. We got 3 shirts done for him. He paid the rush fee, but we were able to save the day for him. Like, if it's your industry, we could just talk about it passionately nonstop, right? So that's what you want to capture. And you just type it into ChatGPT. You give your examples. It doesn't have to be spelled correctly or grammatically correct. You don't even have to think about it. Just tell ChatGPT the stories and examples. Now it will craft an article for you in your voice, because remember, you customize your instructions. So it's going to be in your voice. It's going to know your background information about your business, because that's also in your custom instructions. It's going to be on a topic that's relevant to what your customers are concerned about. And it's going to contain your unique experiences and approaches on how you have solved that problem for your audience. So this output will be a beautifully crafted article that sounds just like you wrote it, and it will have your stories in it. And then you can take that and put it in an AI checker to make sure it doesn't sound like AI, and then see what kind of response you get. And the way I have mine tweaked, I've gotten back 100% human generated responses from an AI checker.
What AI checker would you recommend?
The one that I like the best right now is at writer.com, writer.com/AI-content-detector.
Perfect. We'll put all that in the show notes too, including the prompts too, if that's cool with you, Ethan.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And what about SEO? Do you ask, when you write these topics, do you ask ChatGPT to pick a topic that is the most keyword optimized, or does that come in later? Where does SEO come in?
Yeah, I would add that in later into the conversation. If you're going to write something, so another prompt that we use, let me see if I have it up quickly. But when you're writing this long form content, so in the last example, we wrote an article, but now let's say in that same chat thread, you can say, oh, okay, great. Now I want you to write a 500-word blog for my website. And in that prompt, you would say, make sure to include relevant keyword phrases that people are searching for in my industry. And so it's going to take that article, but now it's writing it as a blog, and it's going to change it to sound more human, like more blog. It's a different tone when you go from an article to a blog, right? But it's also going to inject some of those keywords to give you a boost. So you take this same content thread. So now you have an article, now you have a blog. Then you can say, oh, great. Now write an email newsletter on the same topic that I can send to my subscribers. So now you have an email newsletter. Then you can take all of this and say, oh, this is awesome. Now write 10 tweets for me. And I suggest that, and I'm going to give you another one. So since you have this long form content, now you say, here's the prompt: extract good tweets from the articles, blog, and newsletter above. Give me 10 highly quotable tweets that are thought-provoking, poetic, witty, and or polarizing to increase the likelihood of them going viral. So I'm putting all of this in the prompt, so it's just not giving me generic tweets, right? And then I say include a call to action at the end of each tweet. And then you can even go farther and say, like, write on a high school level. This depends on your audience. You might want to say write on a PhD level or write on a 5th grade level. So you can continue to take these prompts that I'm giving you and continue to add more color and detail to them.
So powerful and so practical and so doable. So
Definitely.
doable. Yeah, I had a session yesterday, an advisory board session with our members here at Basic Bananas, our Clever Bunch members. And one of our members said she's spending so much time writing just one article because she's doing it all without using ChatGPT or any of these tools, Jasper. And so, I gave her some steps, this is perfect. I'm going to share this, of course, with everyone. And it just will, instead of spending a whole day, for example, in her case, on writing one article, you can spend a few, maybe 1-2 hours to craft everything, article, tweets, everything. And SEO optimized blogs, LinkedIn posts, and it's just so powerful. Is there anything else that you would like to add to this entire system?
Oh, there's so much. And in my book, ChatGPT to Double Your Business in 90 Days, like we literally go through 90 steps. It's not a book that you just curl up by the fireplace and read in one sitting. It is designed so that you read day one, stop and do that thing. Then read day two, stop and like do that thing. Because each one of these, like I've only given you a tiny bit of it here. It goes so much deeper. But I want to kind of something you just said a minute ago really made me think about on a higher level. A lot of people are scared of AI or they think AI is going to take my job, but it's really the other way around. And it reminds me of a story. I remember maybe about 15 years ago when we opened our first store, we hired a store manager and she looked great on her resume. You know, she knew all of the Google suite, the Microsoft suite, Office, all of that. And so we hired her, asked her to do something simple, like do inventory. And she created this spreadsheet, or she said she created this spreadsheet and it had all of the shirts and jackets and numbers and columns. And I was like, oh, okay, this is great. Can you total this up? I just wanted to know the total number. And she started counting the cells by hand and adding them up in her head instead of just using the sum feature in Excel, right? And it sounds silly. It's like, why would someone do that? We all pretty much know Excel now, or we know, Google Sheets now, but she wasn't using the tools. And because she wasn't using the tools, I let her go and replaced her. So fast forward to today, if you're not using the tools, whether you're an employee or you're a firm, if you're not using the tools, you're going to get left behind. Because someone like me, I'm looking for people who are leveraging the tools that are on hand, and those who aren't, I'm like, dude, you got to keep up. I can't, if I know I can hire this firm over here that can produce 10 times as much because they're using these readily available tools that are out here today, I'm not going to choose the firm that is AI resistant because they're going to be slower and more expensive.
It's so spot on. You know, a few months ago, I was hiring another team member, and part of my brief for the recruitment firm was that they need to know how to use these tools, that they need to be interested in learning how to use AI. And it wasn't actually very easy to find someone with that curiosity and with the skills of just using those tools. And I always say and you would come across this with the audiences that you speak for too. A lot of people that I come across, business owners, some of them have never used even ChatGPT just yet.
I know. Right. Surprising, but yeah.
Yeah, isn't it? Like,
so
it's interesting, right? And so even just for anyone right now listening, if you are not using anything just yet, just start somewhere. You don't have, even if you don't want to go through all these 90 steps, and I'll pop the link to your book also in the show notes. Just start playing with even just ask ChatGPT, what are the best movies to watch right now? If you're spending your evenings watching movies rather than learning this stuff, then at least ask ChatGPT what you could watch. I was doing some research this morning about a show that I want to pitch to Netflix. I'll tell you more about it another time, but I was just asking ChatGPT to do the research for me, and it did it so much better than I could ever have done.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah, I mean, it has access to the whole history of the internet, right? As long as you have the plus version. So yeah, I tell people who haven't got into it yet, or like I had one business owner ask me, like, how do I remember to use it? I forget to go ask ChatGPT. Say, look, man, just always have it open in a tab in your browser. That's step one. And then if you think about going to Google for something, don't go to Google. Go to ChatGPT and have a conversation with ChatGPT instead of doing a Google search, because it's going to be so much better and you can continue to interact, and it's your brainstorming partner. It's your assistant. And if you've taken the steps, like I told you at the beginning of this episode, and customized your ChatGPT to think it sounds like you, then it's almost like when I talk to my ChatGPT, it's almost like it's a little eerie because it's like I'm talking to a super smart version of myself. It's almost like I'm talking to a clone, but that clone is way smarter than I am because it has all the knowledge of history and the internet.
Yeah, and this is a whole other conversation for another time, and we might even run a masterclass also with you, which we will, publicize to our audiences. But the future of Google, because same thing, I generally just go to ChatGPT now to find what I need rather than Google. So it'll be, I mean, Google is still need, because ChatGPT obviously accesses Google, so we still, need Google, but in terms of the ads, etc. But that's a whole other conversation.
Right.
Any final words that you would like to share here? And then we'll also share the link to your book and also where you would like people to connect with you.
Sure. Just keep an open mind. And I recommend that you subscribe to a podcast like this, find other AI resources so that you can stay on the cutting edge and start using it every single day, because it changes at such a fast pace. I mean, literally every week. And even with my book, if you buy the book from my website and get the ebook, I update you every time I update the book. You automatically get an email with, here's the most recent version of the book. And the reason I did that is because AI changes so fast. So whenever a chapter is updated, a tool is updated, prompts are updated, you get a notification about that. But that's what I would suggest, is like really lean in and just soak in as much information as you can about AI, because the future is here. The future is now. It's not going to slow down for you. It's only going to get exponentially faster. So lean in and stay ahead of the curve.
Love that. And would you like people to go to your website, ethanking.com, and LinkedIn possibly? Yeah.
Yep. That's the best way to reach me. It's just my name, ethanking.com, where you can find links to all my books, different shops I have, all my social media accounts. Feel free to follow and reach out if you have any questions, or I could ever help you with anything.
Lovely. Thank you so much. Thank you for such a practical discussion. I have a feeling that a lot of our listeners will really value this episode. So thank you again for taking the time, Ethan.
Thank you, Francisca.
And you, the listener, thank you so much for tuning in. As always, if you really love this show, we would love a review from you. And thank you for taking the time to tune in. Now let's put this into action. Can't wait to see you somewhere in the world. Thank you so much.
To get more from Basic Bananas and to learn new ways to grow your business with clever marketing, visit basicbananas.com.